بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألم تر كيف فعل ربك بأصحاب الفيل ألم يجعل كيدهم في تضليل وأرسل عليهم طيرا أبابيل ترميهم بحجارة من سجيل فجعلهم كعصف مأكول.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وصلي وسلم على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Amma ba'd, inshallah, today we are beginning the study of Surah Al-feel. Surah Al-feel, and Surah Al-feel, inshallah, it is, if you look at it, about the 105th surah of the Quran. And actually, it is a Makki surah, of course. It is a Makki surah, and then, like we have said before, from Surah Al-Mulk downwards, getting to the end of the Quran, it is only the Maw-izah, okay, Surah Al-Nas and Surah Al-Falaq, which seem not to be Makki surah, but those surahs remaining are all Makki surahs. And what we are going to be seeing here, there is going to be iltifat. Allah is going to, how the pattern of the surahs are going to change drastically. If you look at Juz Amma, the surahs in Juz Amma, they are mainly surahs that talk about, all of them have to do with Judgment Day, occurrences that are happening on the Day of Judgment. And so all of them, they are surahs of warning. They are mainly warning, and they're talking about the occurrences of the time when the final time comes, and that's the Day of Judgment. But if you look at from Surah Al-feel downwards, there's a little bit of change of subject. The subject matter, if you look at it, mainly they have something to do with the life of the Prophet, and that is what we are going to find. So the remaining surahs from Surah Al-feel all to the end of the Quran, to the last surah, Surah Al-Nas, we are going to be seeing something that has to do with the life of the Prophet. And so we have to understand this so that we'll have this summary in our mind before we are studying the surahs. And Surah Al-feel, as we said, it is a Makki surah. It's a Makki surah. And tied to this surah, of course, is a brief history that we have to reflect, because it will help us in the study of the surah. So let's just look at that brief history before we start studying the surah. And that has to do with the seerah of the history of Abraha and then his army. Abraha was actually the leader of Yemen at that time. He was the leader of Yemen. He has done a coup. In today's terminology, what we term as a coup. He overthrew someone who was the actual leader. That was Ariyat. If you look at the history, they mention this name Ariyat. He was the actual leader. Then Abraha, a particular man, Abraha, he overthrew this man, and then he became the leader of Yemen. And Yemen, how it all came about, it is tied to Surah Al-Buruj. It has a history of Surah Al-Buruj, and we won't go deep into that. Inshallah, when we are studying Surah Al-Buruj, we will look at it. Okay, if we look at Surah Al-Buruj, we'll talk about it into details. So we just take from Abraha, we just look at the Abraha. So Abraha, he overthrew this man, and then he became the leader of Yemen. And so when he became the leader of Yemen, you have to know that Yemen previously was the center of Arabia. The whole of the Arabian Peninsula, their capital was Yemen, and it was even the center of trade. Trade in Arabia was the focal point was in Yemen. So they had this economic and then social influence because of that. But after the flood, they lost this influence. The flood came, and then it almost destroyed everything. And so afterwards, it was now the Mecca. Mecca became the most influential place in Arabia. And further to that was the Kaaba, the presence of the Kaaba. It made them more influential, because the other tribes and then other communities are in Arabia, other tribes in Arabia, they used to have their idols in the Kaaba. The Kaaba used to house the idols of all the surrounding communities, all the surrounding tribes in Saudi Arabia, with the exception of Ta'if. Ta'if was not having their idol, that is Lat. The Lat that we know, Lat and Uzza, Actually, Lat was from Taif. That was the idol of the people of Taif. It was only Taif who didn't have their idol in Mecca, and this gave the Meccans some kind of some kind of monopoly, and then socio-economic advantage. And we shall look at that in Surah Al-Quraysh, inshallah. So this Abraha, when he became the leader of Yemen, he wanted to bring back this influence. Kaaba was built by Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam for the worship of Allah, but they corrupted it by turning it a place that was built for the worship of Allah. It was turned to the place for worship of idols, directly opposite of the main goal. But even with that disobedience to Allah, they still love it. Their hearts were still attached to the Kaaba from the prayer of Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam. وَجَعَلَ أَفْئِدَةً تَهْوِي إِلَيْهِمْ. People all over, not even only Maccans, people surrounding Makkah, their hearts were attached to the Kaaba. They used to have some kind of respect for it, even though they turned to a place of worship of idols, but they still love it. And then they still have this notion that it is a sacred place. So Abraham wanted to change that. He didn't like that. He wanted to change it. He wished that it was in Yemen, where he is the leader there. So he wanted to change it. And so what he did was that he built similar thing like the Kaaba, but his own was very big. He built something very big building, which he named as Kulais. He built this thing called Kulais. And so he wanted people to start coming to do tawaf there, people to start coming to do pilgrimage there. When he built it, trying to turn people's attention to it, he built it and then no one showed up. People were still going to the Kaaba to do their pilgrimage, to do their worship. And so the second year, he announced that people should stop going to do pilgrimage at the Kaaba, and then rather they should come to Yemen. And so the Arabs, they got angry when they heard this statement of his. They got angry. So some of Arabs, they went there to see. So he opened it up for them. When he saw them coming, he thought they are coming to start just bit by bit. He's having some kind of notion that they are now gradually coming small. So he opened it up for them. So one of the Arabians, when they entered there, and then they were there, his attention is out of them. Then one man, they said he defecated into it. He defecated in it. And then not only defecating, he took the feces and then he smeared it on the walls of the building. And then he left. So later on he came and then he found what they have done. He was furious. He was very, very angry. Abraham was very angry. And so from there he said he is going to destroy the Kaaba. He took an oath that he will go and destroy the Kaaba. So actually, the one he overthrew and then he became the leader in Yemen, he was appointed by the leader in Abyssinia. Abyssinia introduced technology Ethiopia, Habasha, but actually it was more than that. But we just mainly Ethiopia. So Ethiopia, the leader, the Najashi in Abyssinia, he was the one who appointed them. So he sent a letter to him, telling him that he's going to attack Mecca because of what they had done to his building. And so he also supported him with elephants. He supported him, Abraham, with elephants. He sent some elephants to him as a backup so that he would aid him to go and then destroy the Kaaba. So he gathered all his armies and then the elephant, then he set out. And that time, the people of Mecca, they haven't seen an elephant in war. They haven't seen an elephant being used in battles before. So it was something strange to them. And so even after that, when something strange happened, they used to give it titles. So even after that, they now call it Maw-izah. They refer to that year as Maw-izah. And that, so this Abraham, he set out, and then he first he was lost. Then he came across, when he reached Taif, actually he didn't know the direction, but as I said, Taif, they didn't have their idol, that is a Lat in Kaaba, in the Kaaba. So one man from the Taif, that is Abu Rigal. The history, if you look at the Surah, they will say Abu Rigal. He directed them, he took them and then he showed them to the path to Makkah. He showed them to the path to Makkah. Why will he do that? Because they saw that they didn't need Makkah. They didn't need their help because their idol is not in the Kaaba. So it's of no benefit to them. Like they don't interdepend on Makkah. They don't interdepend on Makkahs because of the fact that their idols is not there. So he showed them the place, and then he set out. He was able to locate the place to Makkah. When he reached Makkah, the Makkahs, as we said, they haven't seen an elephant. They were scared of the army. I mean, an army coming with elephants to fight. They were very scared, so they ran outskirts of Makkah. They went hiding in the mountains, and so they came. Then Abu Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet, he was the leader of Makkah at that time. Actually, they used not to have leaders, but what they used to have was chieftaincies. They have a group of leaders which will represent them. So the prominent one was Abdul Muttalib. That was the grandfather of the Prophet. And most fortunately, what we learn is that was the year in which the Prophet was born. The Prophet was born in that same year when this incident happened. So as they were coming towards Makkah, they had seized some properties from some certain people. And so the grandfather of the Prophet, Abdul Muttalib, his camels were also seized. So when he heard this, he came to take back his camels. So when he came and then he met Abraha, and then he told him that he is coming for his camels. And so Abraha was shocked because you are coming to destroy the Kaaba, and then you are the leader. Instead of you to negotiate or do something so that we will not destroy it, you are asking for your camels. And we all know the famous quotation which Abdul Muttalib says, he is the Lord of the camels. You know, the Kaaba also has his Lord. You know, he will defend it if he wants. And so he took his camels and left. So Abraha, he went forward. He went and then he reached a place called Al-Mugammas. This place in today's in current day today, you will find it in Mina. And so when they reached that place, Al-Mugammas, the camels stopped moving. The elephants, they stopped moving. The elephants stopped moving. If they should turn the camel back, the elephant backwards, it will be running backwards. If they should turn it back from where they came from, that is Yemen, the direction of Yemen, the elephant will be running. But if they turn it back to go towards the Kaaba, the elephant will stop moving. So they had, as if the elephant saw the punishment, the azab, the punishment from afar. And so they remained there not long. And then Allah sent these bears on them, which destroyed this army. Subhanallah. And so that is what Allah is coming to see here. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil feel. Didn't you see how your Lord dealt with the companions of the elephant? Allah is asking the question, Alam tara. Alam tara, actually, let's look at the linguistic breakdown, the linguistic analysis of the ayah before we look at commentaries from prominent mufassirun. So Alam tara, of course, we all know this is an istifham, is a question. And then, as we said the last time, mainly there are two prominent forms of this question that is used in the Quran. Okay, Alam tara and then Ara'aita. When you have a very good teacher, when he's trying to talk about something very important, he tries to ask a rhetorical question, then he now answer it. It attracts the attention of those listening to you. If you ask a question and you are coming to now explain it, and it attaches importance to what you are coming to see. So this is mainly a rhetorical question, which means, didn't you remember? Ra'a could be basariya or even ilmiya, seeing or even knowing. You come to know about it, you weren't there. So Allah is saying, whether you even, bimana, like Sheikh Usaimin says that this is not only referring to the Prophet Alam Tara, it is singular Alam Tara. It is singular referring to the Prophet, but in general, in a general context, to the Prophet, but in extension to all of us. So to matter everybody who is listening, who may be listening to the Quran, who may be listening to this verse, Alam Tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil feel, matter whether the Prophet or even in extension to all of us, whether you were there and then you saw it physically. Ra'a, as I said, is in two types. whether you saw it physically or you can remember, you came to know about it, you were told of it. So Allah says, Alam Tara. One thing we need to know is that be it Basariya or even Ilmiya, it is ta'ajjub. There is ta'ajjub in it. There is ta'ajjub. A ta'ajjub, amazement in it. Amazement. Whenever this uslub of question is asked, it means there's amazement. It comes for amazement. Something seemed to be impossible, but it was done. So mainly Allah used this type of uslub. This army, they were a great army. When they came, of course, they were just in a few seconds, they should have destroyed the thing and then go away. But Allah, whenever this kind of uslub of question is used, the thing that is going to be talked about is going to be something strange. There's going to ta'ajjub, amazement in it. That's one thing that we need to know also in it. And so in extension, there's consolation. Also, there's consolation to guarantee the Prophet that he'll be helped. These people, the Makkans, they were in a place of authority. They were having full control. Look at the Prophet and then his companions in Makkah. They were being beaten, tortured, and killed, and do whatever. They were being hurt like any other thing. They had to do hijrah and then leave the place because of how they were being tortured and then humiliated. But Allah is saying, those look back in that history, that seerah that happened. Abraham, who came here, he was in a place of power. He came with an army where no one could even stand up to him. But what happened? Allah came to their help. Allah came to their aid and helped them, and helped those Quraysh who were powerless against this great army who could have crushed them. So in extension, you the Prophet, don't think that you will not be helped. Allah is guaranteeing the Prophet that just like you and your companions, you are seen to be weak. They call the Prophet and his companions to be weak. They are just people who are weak, slaves, and people who are those accepting Muhammad, Rasulullah, and accepting Allah as one. They are those converting to Islam. So they are in a weak position. Allah is saying that, don't worry, just like what happened to those who were powerful, Allah aid those who were weak against those who were powerful. The same way Allah will help you against this Quraysh who seem to be in a position of power. So Alam Tara Kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil feel. Kayfa is used here. If you look at Kayfa, it means how. Didn't you see how your Lord dealt with the companions of the field? So here is how that is used. And if you look at it, Allah could have seen, like Imam Razi says here, he's making comparison, and then he says that Allah could have seen Alam Tara ma fa'ala. Didn't you see what your Lord do to the people of their companions? But Allah says, didn't you see how? Then he says that لأن الأشياء لها زوات ولها كيفيات باعتبارها يدل على مداومتها واستحقاق المدح إنما يحصل برؤية هذه الكيفيات. بمعنى, for something to have madh, praise, for something to be praiseworthy, it is the praiseworthiness is in how it is done. If you do something and then you deserve to be praised, the praise will be as a result of how you do it. So for example, let's say someone from China, he went to Mecca. If I say I went to Mecca by plane, it's something normal. It doesn't deserve any praise. But how you did it, let's say you walking from China to Mecca, is something that is strange. It's something that deserves to be praised. People will be amazed by what you have done. So if you do something, you will be praised based on how you did it. Allah is coming to talk about something amazing here. And then Allah is mentioning the kayfiyah, the nature in which it was done. How was it done? These were people, Allah destroyed them. If you ask, if Allah had said, Alam tara ma fa'ala, didn't you see what your Lord did? What did he do? He destroyed them. Allah didn't do it on his own. He used just mere bears, just some bears to destroy this great, huge army who think they were some people, who think they were something. So that is what the benefit of, that's what Imam Razi is saying here. This kayfiyah, Allah mentioned the kayfa here to further intensify, to glorify what he did. So, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Didn't you see how your Lord dealt with the companions of the field, ashabil fil? And if you look at here, fil is mentioned, and fil is singular here, but actually it was not one elephant. if you look at the ulama of Sirah, the ulama of Tariq, they made mention of the fact that the most authentic number was 13. There was 13 elephants which were used. The most prominent, there was a very big one which was called the Mahmud. So they say that this field, you can see, is singular. It is referring to that prominent one, and that is something that is allowed in Arabic language. Sometimes you use a prominent thing which is part of a whole to represent the whole, because it is the most prominent one among them. So it is something that an uslub, it is allowed in Arabic language. Then also it could also be ism jam. Ismu jam. And Allah made mention of Rabb. Allah could have said كيف فعل الله بأصحاب الفيل, but Allah mentioned Rabb here. Whenever we hear Rabb in the Quran, it comes with Rabb actually means master. And whenever there is a master, there is what? There is a slave, of course. A Rabb, and then there is Abd. There is Abdun, and then there is Rabb. So whenever Rabb is mentioned, the opposite is Abd, is slave. So Allah mentioning Rabb, it comes to mean that indirectly you should enslave yourself. Allah is saying, your Lord is calling for you to submit yourself. What has happened? The people, the Makkans, they have turned the place into the worship of idols. They have forgotten the main reason why it is there. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, he put this foundation so that the Kaaba will be there for people to worship Allah. But look at what they have turned it for. They have turned it into a place where idols. That's the highest degree of disrespect to the house, not only to Allah, to the house, and then to Allah Azza wa Jal. They have turned the place, something that is, look at a mosque. As you send an idol and put it in a mosque and be worshipping. If you are worshipping an idol at any place, it's of no disrespect that you send it to a place where the Allah is supposed to be worshipped there. Then look at the Kaaba, the most sacred place on the surface of the earth. Then idols were hosted in that place. So Allah mentioning the Rabb here is to try to bring back their mind to the fact that you are slaves. You should be enslaving yourself to Allah and not to idols. So it's very beautiful, very subtle that Allah used mention Rabb here. Ashab will feel the companions of the elephant. Why are they called as companions of elephant? Imam Razi made mention of something here. Ashab will feel يدل على أن أولئك الأقوام كانوا من جنس الفيل. Bimana, if you mention something and then you say it is his companions, let's say you say these are his companions, meaning they are of the same kind. You don't mention something and then you see, for example, if you say animals, let's say animals and human beings, you don't join them together because they are not of the same kind. So you can't use companionship for them. But when it is used, it means you are actually meaning that those people, they are, if you use ashab, if you put companionship between human beings and then animals, meaning you are saying those human beings, they act like animals. When companionship is used, this terminology is used for animals and human beings, it's an insult to the human beings that are being referred to. That's what Imam Razi is saying here. Then he says that بل فيه دقيقة. And then he said there is even something, subtle in it. Let's look at it. Let's dig it up. He says that وهي أنه إذا حصلت المحاسبة بين الشخصين يقال للعدوان إنه صاحب الأعلى. Whenever a companionship, this term ashab is used for another thing, it means that the one who is being referred to the ashab is in a lower position. So for example, you have the prophet and then you say his ashabu Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So his ashab and then the prophet who is in a lower position, the ashab. So he's saying that when companionship, this word in Arabic is used for two people, someone and then his companions. Those who are lower position, they are those referred to the ashab. I don't know whether you get me, like the prophet and then his companions. The prophet, of course, is in a higher authority. Then the companions are in a lower position. So the companions are referred to ashab. So the same way, if you bring that same idea here, ashab will feel, meaning the elephant is in a higher position, and those ones referred to the companions of the field, Abraham and his army, they are below. They are those in a lower position. So he's saying that these people, rather, they are not just the fact that Allah is not just calling out that they were like animals, but يدل على أن أولئك الأقوام كانوا أقل حالا وَأَدْوَنَ مَنْزِلَةً مِنَ الْفِيلِ. They were even lower than the field, than the elephant. Why? If you can remember, when the elephants, they were coming and then they stop at that place, Mukammas, they stop there, and if they were turned towards Yemen, they will go back. But if they were turned towards the direction of the Kaaba, they will stop moving. They themselves, they saw that this was a sacred place. It's not something to be destroyed. So the animals, it was as if they had a more resonant, they had a more intellect, they were more intellectual than these human beings. The animals were better than them, actually, because they saw and know that this is a place of worship. This is a place of worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. It's not a place that should be touched with a bad intention. But these people, they were forcing the animals to move forward. So that is what Sheikh is saying here. يدل على أن أولئك الأقوام كانوا أقل حالا وأدون منزلة من الفيل وهو المراد من قوله تعالى بل هم أضل. If you look at Surah Al-A'raf, Allah mentioned this, بل هم أضل أولئك كالأنعام بل هم أضل. There are some people, wallahi, they are more misguided than animals. May Allah not make us among them. So that's what Sheikh is saying here. These animals, they know the fact that لا طاعة لمخلوق في معصية الخالق. You shouldn't be obeying a creation in the disobedience of Allah, who is the creator. You shouldn't obey someone which will lead to the disobedience to the creator himself, and that's Allah Azza wa Jalla. So these animals, they understood this even better than these human beings. That's something very beautiful that Imam Razi mentioned of this terminology, Ashab al-feel. Now he concludes this particular ayah by asking a very beautiful question. He says that أليس أن كفار قريش كانوا ملأوا الكعبة من الأوثان من قديم الدهر ولا شك أن ذلك كان أقبح من تخريب جدران الكعبة فلما سلط الله العذاب على من قصد التخريب ولم يسلط العذاب على من ملأها من الأوثان. So he's saying that idol worship not even more intense than someone who is just coming to destroy the house. Someone can come to destroy that. Abraham had an intention, and his intention was to drive people's attention towards his country, that was Yemen. So that was why he was coming to destroy the Kaaba. But Sheikh Imam Razi is asking a very philosophical question here, and that is, why did Allah destroy Abraha and didn't destroy Quraysh, who even filled their house with idols? And we all know shirk is the most grave sin that you can think of. So why didn't Allah destroy Quraysh, but rather he destroyed Abraha? الجواب لأن وضع الأوثان فيها تعد على حق الله. Putting idols in the Kaaba is the haqq of Allah. They have not fulfilled the haqq of Allah. The haqq of Allah has been violated here. وتخريبها, and destroying it, destroying the Kaaba, تعد على حق الخلق. It goes back to the rights of the people. The Kaaba is not just for one person, or it's not just for a particular tribe. No, it was put there hudan linnas. It was put there by Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, where people, it will serve as a place of guidance, where people, it will serve as a direction for people to feast in prayer, and is a source of guidance for the whole of humanity. So Allah shouldn't, of course, Allah will not allow this to happen. As for Allah's rights, Allah can wait for people and punish them at a later date. وَلَوْ يُؤَخِذُ اللَّهُ النَّاسَ بِظُلْمِهِمْ مَا تَرَكَ عَلَيْهَا مِنْ دَابَّةٍ. So Allah is sometimes extremely patient. He can wait. You can see people like Allah told us in Surah Ibrahim, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ اللَّهَ غَافِلًا أَمَّا يَعْمَلُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Don't think that Allah is not, Allah is إِنَّمَا يُؤَخِّرُهُمْ لِيَوْمٍ تَشْخَصُ فِيهِ الْأَبْصَارُ. Allah is only delaying people who commit a grievous sins that you can think of. People who kill millions of people. And so Allah will patiently be looking at them, and then you think Allah is, why is this happening? Allah says He's just delaying them for a particular period of time. So Allah can be patient when it comes to punishment. So that's the same thing Allah is saying here, Razi is saying here. As for the haqq of Allah, Allah can delay punishment, but this is the rights of people, and this is a place that is to serve as guidance for the whole of humanity. So it is better that Allah would not allow it to be destroyed, so that the rest of humanity will suffer, assuming this Kaaba was to be destroyed. So this is something that is a very beautiful answer from Imam Razi. Now the next ayah, Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Didn't he turn their plans into waste? Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. The verb here is ja'ala, yaj'alu. It means to take something and turn it into another thing. Something is already there. There's halaka and then there's ja'ala. Halaka means to create all of the sudden from nowhere. But ja'ala, it means to make. Something already exists. Then you take it and turn it into another thing. That is ja'ala. Oh, that is clear. Let's say there are wood here. Wood, pieces of wood. I take it and then I turn it into a chair. That is ja'ala. I've made it. I've taken something and then I've changed it into another thing. So that's ja'ala, to turn. Okay. He says that Alam yaj'al kaydahum fi tadlil. Didn't he turn their plans into waste? These people, they had a whole laid out of plans. They had a whole laid out of plans. This is what we are coming to do. From here, we should destroy the Kaaba such that afterwards, people's attention will be drawn. And even at the beginning, they said, let's build a house so that, and then they build the house and people are not coming now. They say, let's go and destroy the Kaaba. After that, people will now try to find a way to draw 10 people's attention towards Yemen. No, all these kind of laid out plans, Allah says he took that plans. He just leave them, they have their plans, but he turned their plan into something else. And that's what? Tadlil. Waste or lost. Tadlil is the masdar of dallala. The actual verb is dallala, which comes on the pattern of fa'ala. Dallala yudallilu. And then the masdar is tadlil. And that's what we are having here. Tadlil. For something to be lost. Okay, for something to be to misguide something, to put something into waste, to put it onto a wrong path, such that its objective will never be achieved. That is tadlil. So Allah took all their plans and turned it into something, put it into a wrong path, such that the objectives will never be achieved. So tadlil, lost, waste. What is kaid? Kaid is actually plot. But if you look at it, there is another word that is close to it, and that is makr. Makr, kaidun, and then we have makrun. Like we have wayamkuruna, wayamkurullah. So that's makr. But here is kaid. Okay, nahum yakiduna kaida wa akidu kaida. So kaid and makr, they are similar. But kaid is specifically makr. Let's look at makr. Makr is, it could be good or bad. It's a plot that could be good or bad. Oh, that's clear. It's a secret plot, but it could be good or bad. But kaid, huwa iradatun mudirratun bil ghayri ala al khufya. A bad intention, iradatun mudirratun, an intention that can hurt, a hurtful intention, a bad intention that is done in secrecy. So bimana is a plot, it's a secret plot that have bad intention in it. That is what kaid is. So of course we all know what they were coming to do was evil, it was bad. But it wasn't secret, because when they came in, they made it known. When they smash out, it was known they are coming to destroy the Kaaba. So why will Allah use kaid here? Because kaid, as we said, it is something that is a secret plot. He says that لما سماه كيدا وأمره كان ظاهرا فإنه كان يصرح أنه يهدم البيت. قلنا نعم. He said نعم, that's true. لكن الذي كان في قلبه شر مما أظهر. What was in their heart was more evil than that. It was not just the house that they were having secret plot that they wanted to destroy. No, they were having secret, they were having bad intentions in them. Bimana, destroying the Kaaba was not just their main goal, it was a means to a particular goal. I don't know whether you get me. Their main goal was to try to turn people's attention towards Yemen. And the main way of achieving it was destroying the Kaaba. So their aim was not just to destroy the Kaaba and then everybody will be equal. But after destroying the Kaaba, people's attention will be turned towards them. So they had, and who knows, Allah knows best. And that because Allah mentioned here that it is kaid. And when Allah mentions something, of course, it is true. There's no two ways about it. Meaning they had other secrets. Allah using kaid here is to reflect the fact that they had other aims and objectives that was embedded in them that we don't know. And that is today, even today you see it. Bimana oppressors, countries which call themselves superpowers. I mean, these so-called superpowers, who some of them have hatred for Islam. Look at what they do. They go and then, of course, some Islamic countries, they go and cause a lot of chaos there. And then they give, I mean, flimsy excuses that are even, it is not, no one understands it. They give excuses, they just find something, some small excuse, it has no evidence. They will just give flimsy some excuses that have no evidence to go and cause distraction in Islamic countries. We all know this, you know. You're going to see these people, they have weapons of mass destruction. They have so and so. They call they use this as a sabbath, just as a means. And these things, they don't even have evidence. But that's not their main aim. They are using this as an excuse to cause distraction in Islamic countries. You know. So this was that's what Allah is saying. And as I said, even up to today, you will see it. So Allah is saying, Kaid, they had secret things in their heart. We don't even know them. Like Allah says, وَمَا تُخْفِي صُدُورُهُمْ أَكْبَرُ. What is hidden in their heart is something is very big. The kind of hatred they have for you, they wish that Islam could have just died off on the surface of the earth. You know. And even up until today, we see it happening. May Allah protect Muslims. So, أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. Allah says, didn't He took their secret evil plot and put it into waste? Allah led them to have their own scheme of what they are coming to do, and Allah take it and then put it into waste. How did Allah put it into waste? That is what the next ayah is coming to tell us. One thing that we need to know is that before we go to the next ayah, we need to know that when this masdar, this verb, this noun here, verbal noun here, tadlil, when masadir comes on that pattern of taf'il, it comes to mean there's repetition in it. The verbs that come on the pattern of fa'ala, the actual verb is dallala. It means there is repetition in it. So meaning Allah put their plans, secret plans, into waste every single time. Every single time. It's something very beautiful. Most of the Mufassirun, Imam Shawkani, he points out that fact that in this particular masdar there is takrar, there is repetition. Every single time that they have a plot, Allah put it into waste. Look at the beginning, they built the house. They thought building the house, they made it very beautiful place, and then they could name it Kulais. Unfortunately, no one showed up. So at that first beginning, Allah puts their plan into waste. Then they call for people to come and then be doing Hajj there, and then unfortunately, no one showed up. Even when they were coming, they got lost. A particular person from Taif, you know, Taif, as we said, their god, that their idol, that was Lat, it was not in Kaaba, so they didn't have anything to do with Makkah. So because of that, someone volunteered. He was called Abu Regal, if I can still remember the name from the Surah. He was called Abu Regal. He come and then he took them to show them the pathway to Makkah. And then it's something very famous. The time of the Arabs, they used to stone his grave as a sign of disrespect for for betraying the whole of Arabs. So people used to pass by and then they stone his grave. So even that time they were lost. Now they came to destroy the house, and then even Allah now sent bears upon them, and then the whole plan has fallen apart. So thirdly, Allah put their plan into waste, into loss at every single time that they were making advance. Okay. وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Then He sends against them bears which were flocks upon flocks upon flocks. وَأَرْسَلَ بِمَعنَى أَرْسَلَ, we all know, is to send against. أَرْسَلَ عَلَى, it means to send against. Okay, mainly if it is used in a bad context, of course, it means azab, punishment. وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ, and He sent against them طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. Now let's look at something very beautiful. The Surah tells us that when after Abdul Muttalib, he negotiated and he had his camels and then he left. The Surah says that فَالْتَفَتَ وَهُوَ يَدْعُو, he turned and then he was supplicating. فَإِذَا هُوَ بِطَيْرٍ مِنْ نَحْوِ الْيَمَنِ فقال والله إنها لطير غريبة. Indeed, he is recounting what he saw. He said that after he turned away, they were all of a sudden they were birds from the direction of Yemen, and that is funny. The armies they came from were Yemen. The birds came from Yemen. Very funny. Wallahi innaha la tayrun ghariba. Of wallahi bimana, it was, they were birds that were strange. They were not birds that we all see. They were strange birds. Ma hiya bi Najdiyya wala Tihama. They were not from Najdan and they were not from Tihama. وكان مع كل طائر حجر في منقاره. And then each bird had hajar, a stone, in his beak. وحجران في رجليه, and 2 stones in his legs. فكان الحجر يقع على رأس الرجل. And the stones they used to land, bimana, when they were throwing it, when these birds were releasing the stones, it was land on the head of a man. فَيَخْرُجُ مِنْ دُبُرِهِ, and then it will come out from his back, bimana, his anus. Subhanallah. وَعَلَى كُلِّ حَجَرٍ إِسْمُ مَنْ يَقَوْ عَلَيْهِ, and on every stone there was the name of a particular person that is meant to be targeted. That was how precise these stones were. That is what the account of narration of Abdul Muttalib here. وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ. So this is these birds that were sent to them. One thing we need to know here is طَيْرًا. If you look at طَيْرًا, it is, if you look at the end, there is fathatain, which indicate that it is nakira. It is what? It is nakira. Being nakira is for tahkir. We all know in Arabic language, if something is nakira, it means it is not known. And so that is nakira. If something is not known, it is what? There's tahkir in it. And that tahkir is to kind of belittle. Even in English language, we have it. If I say the man, meaning we know that man, he is specific. That is definite. But if I say, if it is indefinite, some man, if I say some man came here, okay, some man came here looking for you, it means I am not attaching importance to that man. I don't know whether he hit me, or you are being beaten up, a student is crying, and then you ask him, who beat you? Then he says, some teacher. Meaning he's trying to say he's just some teacher, he's not even any, he's trying to disregard him. So Allah is doing that by saying that Toyran Ababil, they were just some birds. They were not birds which were special. If they were special, there would have been a definite article like Alif Walam here. Meaning At-Toyr, meaning the birds. Meaning they are birds who are actually known to be carrying out this kind of attack. But here Allah is just saying some birds. And that's what we have seen when we're talking about the Kayfiyah. It was amazing how it was done. It was amazing. Birds, of course, to begin with, birds that doesn't have much capability in fighting against human. A normal bird standing and you are coming, it will run away. But Allah even further says that this was not even just some birds. It was not just birds, but it was just some birds. It was just like something casual. Subhanallah. You know. So this massive army which thought they were something, Allah sends just some birds against them, and then they were destroyed. So it's very beautiful. Another thing that we need to know is Ababil. Another thing is Ababil. Ababil actually means groups upon groups upon groups. Abu Ubaidah, he described Ababil as Jama'atun fi Tafriqa. Groups of different kinds. Groups upon groups upon groups upon groups. We call it, collectively we call it Ababil. Meaning they were birds. This group comes, another group comes, and then that was it. People who witness it, if you look at the account of the Surah, that was what, this is what they say. And then he says that, Ja'at al-khayru, yuqalu, in Arabic we say, yuqalu, it is said, Ja'at al-khayru ababila min hahuna wa hahuna. The best came from, Ja'at al-khayru, the horses came, ababila, groups upon groups. Min hahuna wa hahuna, from here and there. You are sitting down, then different groups of horses, they start coming. We use this expression, Ja'atil khayru ababil min hahuna wa hahuna. So he's saying that ababil is further buttressing the point that ababil simply means groups of different kinds. So these birds, that was how they appear. They came, Allah sent them groups upon groups. Tarmihim bihijaratin min sijil. They were striking them, tarmihim, or they were throwing them, striking them, bihijaratin min sijil, from stones that was from sijil. I will not translate sijil for now. We'll look at it as we go. So tarmihim, the manner they were striking them. Tarmi is actually, the actual verb is rama yarmi. It is coming from rama yarmi. And if you look at tarmihim, it is a present tense. It is a present tense. So in English, we will say striking them, meaning it was continuous. We use present tense to describe something that has already passed. Even in English, when that thing occurred, not just once, it occurred continuously. So that is when present tense is used for something that happened in the past. So like here, what we are seeing, tarmihim, meaning that the stones, it didn't just come down once. It was not just once. The birds, they were striking them. It was coming like rain continuously. They were being struck one after the one, like the stones kept coming down like that. So that is the benefit of the tarmihim, Allah using the present tense here. One other thing that we need to, because it would have just been ramat hum bihijaratin min sijil, means they just pelted them, they just threw them once. But tarmihim, striking them, it was coming down one after the other. Okay, that's the benefit of the present tense here. One other thing that we need to know about tarmih, the verb here, the noun is rimaya. And if you look at rimaya, even in their culture, the culture of the Arab, they used to have these games where we have rimaya, that we call rimaya. They used to go and then they throw, and then they have a target. This now is not just used casually, but it is used when you are throwing and you have a specific target. So, meaning that this striking that was done, the birds, you were not just throwing it, pelting anyhow. Each stone had the one who it was meant to be targeted. So that is another benefit of the word here. As I said, Rama Yarmi, it means you are throwing not just casually, but you have a particular target. So everybody there was a target on each stone. It was kind of like a targeted, in today's terminology, we have precision guided missiles that have a specific target. So that was similar thing here. There was a specific target, and like we have seen from the account, each person name was each stone had a person name on it. That was something similar. But another thing is that it was from a distance. It happened across. So how can you throw even at a target and there is no distance between you and it? They were at a particular distance from it, and then they were striking them. The birds were at a particular distance from the earth, and then they were striking them in the atmosphere, the one above them, and then they were doing this precision targeting. Bihijaratin min sijil, of stones that was made from sijil. Let's look at what sijil means here. Imam Tabari, he says that it's not an Arabic word. It is something that is mushtaqt. It is derived, but it was actually a Persian word, a Farsi. It was in the Farsi, their language, which actually came from Singigil. Okay, Singigil. That was the actual word, Singigil. Then it got quite into Arabic language, which actually meant something of stone or something of sand and then clay. Singigil. It was made of sand and then clay, which come together and then they are baked, and then it becomes a stone. So a stone made up of sand and then clay, and then it is baked up, and then it is called from Arabic we join them sijil. I hope that is clear. So that is one meaning of it. That is one origin of this sijil, which means a baked sand, a big stone made of sand and clay. That's one meaning. Tabari also mentioned here by saying that bimana as sijil, bimana as shadid, something very hard, very hard stone. That's another meaning that he gave. Then the third meaning is as-sijil hijaratun min jahannam. As-sijil hijaratun min jahannam is a stone from hellfire. These stones, they were original from hellfire. It was brought from hellfire. Subhanallah. And if you look at he made mention of the fact that فَإِنَّ سِجِّيلَ إِسْمٌ مِنْ أَسْمَاءِ جَهَنَّمْ. We have sijin with nun. Sijin. كَلَّا إِنَّ كِتَابَ الْفُجَّارِ لَفِي سِجِّينٍ. And sijin, that's the register of those who do bad things. And that's found in the depth, the bottom of hellfire. These registers are kept. So this sijil, some Mufassirun says that it is similar thing as is the same as sijin with noon, which means depth, from depths of hellfire. Then the noon is, he says that ubdilatin noon bil lam. The noon has been swapped with the lam, and that's what we have. That's where we have sijin. But it's actually, they say the origin is sijin with noon, which means something from the depths of Jahannam. Mana, these were stones that were from Jahannam. Hope that is clear. Okay. Now Allah says that فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. He turned them, he made them like asfin ma'kul. We'll still look at it. I will translate it for now. Now we need to know is ja'ala. Ja'ala, as we have already made mention, explain ja'ala. Ja'ala means to turn something already exists and you turn it, like we have seen here. Okay, alam yaj'al kaydahum. So that's similar word, ja'ala. So for ja'alahum, he turned them. This army, after Allah had destroyed, they were pelted by these stones. Allah is asking you, you want to know how they were now, how they were being, how they were transformed. Allah is saying, فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَصْفٍ. He transformed them like, so what, they were not asfin ma'kul, but if you want to have a picture of how they were like asfin ma'kul. Asfin ma'kul. This strong army, Allah turned them to asfin ma'kul. Subhanallah. Let's look at asfin ma'kul. Asf is actually leaves of plants. Leaves of plants that fall and withers and then die off. Not only leaves, even straws and fibers, small fibers of plants. If you are going by any plant and then you see the wind, when the wind blew, so even wind that blows off, we call it asif. So when they blow plants and then the plants, small parts of the plants, the leaves and then the fibers and then these small straws, they fall down and then they wither and then they die off. We call it the asf. If it is lying down there, of course, any fallen thing like that which is lying down there, it has no protection. Even if an animal is coming to eat it, it can't protect itself from the animal. It is destined to be eaten. So, فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. Allah made them like the asf, those useless thing that you see when the wind blew and then from the plant, the small part, the leaves, and then these small things, they fall down from the plant. That was Allah saying they were like that. That's asf. If you look at something like that, it can't control itself. It's now under the control of wind. An animal will come and eat it like it is powerless. Something like that is powerless. And Allah didn't just stop there. Allah didn't say he made them like asf and then he stopped there. Asfim makul. One meaning is asf, that is the man that is plants that is meant to be eaten. Makul, the man is something meant to be eaten. One other thing is asf, that is eaten up. So if you have those leaves or those things like that, and then these camels or animals, they come around and then they eat it. You see an animal come and pick leaves and then eat. Then it part of it fall from its mouth, mixed with the saliva. Such kind of thing, such kind of filthy thing, that was what they were now. Subhanallah. Unless it's just those powerful army that you think they were like a powerful army, that was what they were now like. Subhanallah. Ibn Abbas, he gives a narration, very beautiful narration. He says that لما أرسل الله الحجارة على أصحاب الفيل, when Allah sent the stones on the أصحاب الفيل, لم يقع حجر على أحد منهم إلا نفذ جلده. When a stone didn't land on any of them, except that نفذ جلده, it swells and bend up his skin. Subhanallah. Wasara bihi jodari. And then it became a plague. That thing, it was a plague. This stones that was pelted, this sigil that landed on each of them, it would pass through the head and come out from the back, the rectum of the human being. And then he says that it caused the skins to swell and then bends up. If any of these stones should touch any of these people, this ashab al-feel, That was what the stone did to them. And then they were lying down there like asfim makul, these straps and then leaves and then fibers of plants that has been eaten up by animal, gurgitated, and then it falls from the mouth. That was what they were looking like. They were like, this horrible scene, graphic scene. Allah is describing how these people who thought they were very powerful, this was how they ended up. Subhanallah. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَأَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ. With this, alhamdulillah, we come to the end of this. May Allah make us, may Allah protect us against arrogance. May Allah grant us humility. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بارك الله لي ولكم في القرآن الحكيم ونفعني وإياكم بالآيات والذكر الحكيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.